What happens when tiny yellow troublemakers try to make a monster movie with real monsters? They almost destroy the planet. This is Minions and Monsters explained from beginning to end, full spoilers ahead. The story opens inside a movie museum where a tour guide points to old cameras, dusty costumes, and one very suspicious magic book. She begins telling the story of James and Henry, two little yellow workers who lived long before Gru. Their tribe had one simple job: find the most evil boss available and help him. They were extremely loyal. Their bosses were extremely temporary. One boss was a wicked sorcerer who owned a spellbook full of monsters. Henry tried the book, summoned a creature, and accidentally got the sorcerer destroyed. The tribe lost another boss, but Ed quietly carried away the book. Keeping the dangerous object that just ate your employer is normally a bad idea. Here, it is the entire plot. Years later, the tribe is still searching for someone evil. They see a train robbery and happily chase the criminals, only to crash straight into a movie set. The robbery is fake, the train is fake, the danger is fake, their ability to ruin everything is very real. The director, Max, watches his perfect scene collapse. James and Henry bounce through the set, smash the scenery, survive every stunt, and somehow make the scene much funnier. Max wants them removed. The studio owners, Frank and Elwood Bright, see something else. Money. They put the yellow creatures into more silent films. In one movie they are cowboys, in another they are thieves. They fall, crash, explode, and get flattened, then stand up like nothing happened. Audiences love them. Max quickly learns that planning around them is impossible, so he starts planning around the accidents. A broken ladder becomes a stunt. A runaway car becomes the chase. If James misses the door and enters through a wall, Max simply keeps filming. The tribe is not good at acting. It is very good at surviving the wrong thing in the funniest possible way. Silent movies also have one very useful rule: nobody has to understand what the actors are saying. For the tribe, this is perfect. James falls in love with filmmaking. He studies the camera, watches Max direct, and begins imagining a golden banana award in his hands. Henry believes in him immediately. Ed starts filming everything. Even the tribe leader, Dick, enjoys the giant house, the fancy clothes, and the mountains of bananas that arrive with fame. For a while they own Hollywood, then movies learn to talk. Suddenly actors need clear voices and real dialogue. The studio gives the tribe a microphone. They proudly speak their usual cheerful nonsense. The audience understands none of it. The new talking film becomes a disaster, and yesterday's biggest silent stars are thrown out of the studio. Their mansion disappears, their fans disappear, the bananas become much less mountainous. The Bright brothers do not care that the same chaos made them rich. Hollywood has found a new toy and the old one is placed outside with the trash. Max feels guilty, but he cannot stop the studio. James looks through the locked gate at the cameras he has learned to love. Losing fame hurts. Losing the chance to create hurts more. Dick says this proves the tribe should stop pretending to be artists and return to its real purpose, serving an evil master. James refuses. For the first time, one of them does not want to follow somebody else. He wants to make something of his own. James decides to direct the greatest monster movie ever made. There is only one problem: he has no studio, no money, and no monster. Then Ed remembers the spellbook. Most filmmakers solve this problem with costumes. James chooses actual magic because apparently unemployment has damaged his judgment. Max still sees talent in James and gives the friends an old camera. James, Henry, and Ed leave the tribe and begin their tiny production. They draw sets, build cardboard buildings, and open the book. James asks for a gigantic, terrifying beast. The book gives him Goomi. Goomi is a small green blob with soft tentacles and a friendly face. He looks less like the end of the world and more like something that would steal one French fry, then apologize. Henry loves him. James is disappointed, but Goomi promises he can help them find bigger monsters. That promise is technically true. It is also a trap. Goomi persuades the friends to release two more creatures, Phillips and Howard. They seem useful for the movie, but all three monsters are secretly building a ritual. They need lights, cameras, crowds, and one final sacrifice. James believes he is arranging the perfect film set. Goomi is arranging the end of the world. Meanwhile, Dick and the rest of the tribe finally find a new master. His name is Dort. He is a shiny visitor from space who claims he will conquer Earth. He has a metal body, a glass head, and the confidence of a toaster that has just discovered lasers. Dick is delighted, at last a proper evil boss. But Dort meets Debbie, a brave woman marching for voting rights, and his invasion plan becomes strangely difficult. He likes her. She likes him. Instead of destroying Earth, Dart begins spending his time on awkward dates and trying to understand flowers. Dick watches his terrifying space conqueror become a nervous boyfriend, another boss ruined by feelings. Debbie also gives Dart something his invasion plan never included, a place where he might belong. He begins helping her instead of ordering people around. Dick tries to remind him about lasers, fear, and global domination. Dart is busy holding a tiny flower and panicking. The tribe may have selected the least efficient conqueror in space. Back on James' set, Goomi's plan reaches its final step. Henry is captured and placed at the center of the ritual. James finally realizes the truth. The monsters never wanted to act in his movie. They were using his movie to summon Irene, a creature large enough to flatten Hollywood. The ground shakes, buildings crack. Irene rises as a gigantic orange monster with a mouth big enough to treat a train like spaghetti. The fake disaster movie has become a real disaster movie. Soldiers arrive, cannons fire, and the little yellow creatures run in every possible direction. Irene swallows Henry whole. This is terrible for Henry, terrible for James, and very bad for the shooting schedule. James now has a choice. He can keep chasing the movie he always wanted or save the friend who believed in him before anyone else did. He drops the camera and jumps into Irene's mouth. Inside the monster, James crawls past teeth, slime, and several things that should never be identified. He finds Henry and pulls him free. The friends escape and the tribe attacks Irene together. For one glorious moment, they tear the giant creature apart. Then every piece crawls back together. Of course it does. The Yellow Army cannot stop Irene. Goomi is still laughing and Hollywood is almost finished. Then the sky fills with silver lights. Dart returns with an entire fleet of spaceships, each one piloted by a tiny yellow worker. Apparently, romance did not make Dart useless. It gave him a reason to protect Earth. The spaceships blast Irene from every side while James and Henry race toward the spellbook. Ed keeps filming because somebody in this group understands documentaries. Dick finally stops arguing about evil bosses and helps his friends. Together they weaken Irene, force Goomi, Phillips, and Howard back into the book, then seal it shut. The giant monster disappears. Hollywood survives. The world survives. The studio will probably need a new roof. Max sees that James did what no studio owner would let him do. He made a giant picture, protected his crew, and refused to leave his friend behind. Dick also learns that following the strongest boss is not the same as having a purpose. For once, the tribe wins because everybody chooses to help, not because somebody evil gives an order. Months later, James discovers that Ed recorded the whole battle. They edit the footage, finish minions and monsters, and hold a giant premiere. The audience laughs, cheers, and gives James the success he wanted. This time he earns it by telling his own story, not by falling through somebody else's scenery. James even receives his golden award. Henry stands beside him, exactly where he has been from the beginning. Then the movie pulls one final trick. The museum, the tour guide, and the entire adventure are revealed to be part of another film set. James and Henry are directing the story we just watched. The humans, robots, and monsters from their past have returned to play themselves. Even Goomi is there. So the movie is a movie about two filmmakers making a movie, inside a movie about their movie. Simple. During the credits, the old spellbook reaches Gru's group. Kevin, Stuart, Bob, Gru, Dr. Nefario, and Agnes experiment with its magic and create several new disasters. One joke even shows how Gru's ordinary dog becomes the strange monster dog Kyle. These are mid-credit scenes. There is no final secret scene after every credit ends. The credits also answer the strange timeline problem in the silliest possible way. James can bring old friends and monsters into a modern production because this version of Hollywood apparently has magic, spaceships, and time travel. The story does not repair the timeline with a careful diagram. It throws the diagram into the monster book and closes the cover. James begins the story believing his only purpose is to follow bad bosses. He ends it creating something that belongs to him. His dream nearly eats his best friend and destroys Earth, which is not an ideal first project, but he fixes his mistake and finishes the film. Not bad for a director whose first monster tried to end the world.